Hey everybody, my name is Erik. I was asked to do this speech in English because I heard there were some international people. So first of all, did you guys have fun at the workshops today? Was it fun? Yeah. I just joined one as well. It was really interesting. I just want to start it with a video real quick. Short snippet. Yeah. This is one of my music videos. It's called Elevator, and it's one of my latest singles because I'm a producer. I make house music, pop music, and I DJ, and I'm a songwriter, and I sing as well. So I try to do everything that involves music. This is what I do now, but today I want to tell you about like my experience with education when I was younger, because I'm 21 now. So that's the story I want to tell you today. So let's start with primary school. When I entered primary school, my parents and the teachers realized pretty quickly that I was a bright kid and I picked up things quickly. So the school suggested I would skip the second year. But my parents, they were like, well, why would you do that? He just has to play with the other kids, and they thought it was important that I, had my social contacts. So I just did the second year regularly, and then the school said, well, if you want to do the third year in primary school, that's where you start to learn to like read and write, but I could do those things, so school convinced us to skip the third year. And my primary school was, for me, it was a really great school because they were very flexible and open-minded, and they gave me a lot of freedom. And I remember there were days when I would just go in my gym clothes to school, and I could gym with like the fourth class and with like the second class, and I would just just have a great time, and the school was very open-minded in that aspect. And they also tried to help me with things that I struggled with. So I didn't struggle with math or those things, but the teacher would always send me to get like her coffee, and she would say, oh, just bring this to this teacher, and then you get me coffee with like 1 spoon of sugar and no milk. Then I would fail every time, of course. But then they tried to help me with the things that I struggled with. So it was a very great primary school for me. So I had a great time there, and my parents would just give me, because my sister is 5 years older, so she would give me her math books she was using in high school, and I was allowed to just do my own thing, and my mom would download like an application so I could learn French, and English, and so I would do my own thing in primary school, and they were very free and allowed me to do that. And the reason I could speed up is because I'm sure all of you have heard about this top-down learning. And I always explain this to people, like to explain why I can do things quicker. Because it's not necessarily that I pick up things quicker because my mind is quicker or anything, but I always feel like I see the logic in things, like the patterns, and that's why I feel like I do things quicker. Because, for example, if you look at primary school and you look at when you start to learn, addition, like 1 and 1 is 2, and then 1 and 2 is 3, and then if you teach me the concept of addition, I can do, 3,045 plus something on the first day, because if you teach me the concept and the pattern, then I get it, So that's why I usually do things quicker. But even though my school was very like open-minded and flexible, I did get like bored in school, and I don't remember so well, but my mom said I would always come home like very tired and like pale, and it was still like pretty tough in school. So when I was in the 6th year in the Dutch school system, my teacher said, you know what, every year the new teacher, they believe that he's a smart kid and they want to help him, but they never have like the courage to give him enough freedom. So we were at the end of the 6th year. She said, I made the same mistake again by not having the confidence to give him more freedom and flexibility. So she said, let's have him do the CITO-toets, the test that you do in the 8th year at the end of primary school. And I did it when I was in the 6th year, and I got a good grade. I don't remember what it was, but it was a really great idea from the teacher, so we had some proof to show the next years that I was actually smart and that I could do it, and that was a really great idea, I think. So that's the CITO-toets. Yeah, and then I went to high school. My parents actually, they wanted me to do the 8th year again. They wanted me to stay in the other year because I had so much trouble. I was such a chaos. Well, still am today, but I always forgot my books and I forgot everything, and I would get lost. And I was such a chaotic kid. So my parents thought maybe he should do the 8th year again to become a little bit more stable, I guess. But by that time, I had enough self-knowledge, and I was like, no, Mom, I can do it. I can go to high school, and I will not forget my books anymore. And turns out I was right, so I'm happy about that. So yeah, I went to high school, and my parents I called it made a deal. They went to the high school with the proof that we had when the test I did in 6th grade. And they made the high school promise, okay, we're going to do whatever it takes to challenge Erik and to not let him get bored. And they called me proefkonijn, how do you say it in English? Oh, I was a guinea pig, apparently. Okay, so I was a guinea pig in the high school. So that was the deal we made. And so high school said, okay, let's have him do the first 2 years in 1 year. But to be honest, after a few weeks, I really felt like I had taken a lot of steps back because I was so used to doing high school work when I was already in primary school. I was doing 5th, 6th grade math in primary school, so suddenly I had to do 2nd grade math. So even though the school was allowing me to speed up, I was taking steps back. So eventually they took the risk to send me to the 3rd year after a few weeks. And it turns out I was able to keep up. And in January, so that's after a few months of the school year, I went to the 4th year. And I gotta say, the school was very, I think I said it here, the school was quite anxious to take this risk, and gotta give credit to my parents. They've been very stubborn and quite, forceful on the school, because they were like, we know our kid, and you promised you would do whatever it takes. And that's how I ended up in the 4th year, and I could keep up, and I was having a great time with both my peers in the lower class and with my peers in the 4th grade. So I'm really happy my parents took the risk, and the school as well. And again, the top-down learning helped me a lot, because everybody always asks me, how can you do 4 years in one if you have new subjects, I don't know, I had Latin for the first time, and Greek, and French, and and I had all these new subjects, and I had to do 4 years in one. But this is again where top-down learning comes in, because if you look at Latin, for instance, my classmates would every week they would learn a new, a grammar pattern, and then because I was in the 4th year, I had to do all the grammar patterns in one, as a whole, and I could see the pattern, and it made it so much easier for me to just remember the whole thing. And that's how I could keep up with subjects I never had before. So I'm very happy the school took that risk with me, and my parents, of course. Yeah, and that's when I graduated. At 13, I did my high school exams, and it led to some media attention, because I don't know the details, but I was one of the youngest kids to do my high school exam. And it led to me being on TV. I want to show you a fragment of that, because it's quite interesting. I always had this major passion for science, for physics and for math, and I was sure I wanted to be I wanted to study physics. But I also had a hobby, which was making music. I never really thought much about it. I was playing piano, and I would make beats at home, and I would do everything with music. And the reason why I wanted to show my music on national television, as you will see in a bit, it's not because I wanted to get discovered with my music, because I was 13, I didn't think about it. I just wanted to show that I was a regular kid, basically. That's the main reason, because when my story got in the news, I got so much comments about, oh, I'm sure he has no friends, and he has major autism, and I got all this hate, basically, this internet hate, and I was 13, and I was like, okay, I will show you, I'm a DJ, I make fun music, and I was like, oh, let's show him that, kind of as a proof that I was a normal kid. So that's the reason I showed my music. And this is the video I want to show you. I'm 13 here. It's very cringy for me, but okay.
Qua laagfrequenties en dat soort dingen kan er wel verbeterd worden. Maar voor iemand van 13 is dit wel heel erg indrukwekkend hoor. Laagfrequenties?
Okay, so for everybody who doesn't speak Dutch, this is Armin van Buuren. He was at the time the #1 DJ in the world, and as a surprise, they had him in the show. They asked my mom before if I could handle it. Another, surprise. It was my first time on television, so that's basically by accident my music got discovered, and I signed to his record label, and I started doing music. But of course, I just finished my high school, so I went to university because that was the only logical option for me. So I went to study physics in Delft, TU Delft, and I kind of struggled at that time because my music got discovered, and I released my first single at Armin van Buuren's label. But I also had to work full-time at my physics studies, and that's kind of where the university didn't have the flexibility of especially my primary school, but also my high school. Kind of that flexibility, that freedom that I was used to stopped. But I didn't want to give up my music career, of course, because my first single was blowing up, and I was traveling around the world DJing, and so I kind of felt like I had to make a choice. And because I really missed that flexibility. And I remember one time I had to take like a test in university, and there was a reporter on the street of the university, like, Erik, and how is it going, blah blah. So of course I did the interview, and then I was too late for my test, and I failed the test. I got a 1 score, or ik kreeg een 1. So that's the kind of inflexibility I had to deal with, which basically led to me quitting my study after half a year. And I'm still to this day, I'm like a little bit, I don't know about this aspect, because my passion for science has basically disappeared. It sounds kind of weird, but to this day, I'm not interested in physics anymore. I never watch documentaries on it or whatever. I'm, all my other interests in music, but also in like language and culture and society, all these human aspects, interests me so much more these days, and I'm still not sure why that sudden change happened. I don't know if it was the inflexibility of the school, or if it was my music career, which was much more exciting, of course, at that time. So, to be honest, I still don't know today. But anyway, my parents actually advised me to say, my parents said, you know what, you're 13 or 14, enjoy your music, and you can study when you're 18. That's basically the plan. So I went to enjoy my music career, and and so as you can see, I was 14, so I barely reached above the DJ desk. And I traveled around the world. This is in Moscow, in Russia. We went for a charity, and this is also for a charity in Uganda and Africa. Oh, and in Africa. This is in Ibiza. My 16th birthday. Was allowed to play past 11 o'clock for the first time. So I celebrated in Ibiza. And this is in South Korea, and Los Angeles. This is very recently. So yeah, as you can see, I really enjoyed my years off, my gap years, basically. But I did have some struggles, because I was, 14, 15, 16. I didn't go to school, so I had to do everything by myself, and I really had some struggles. For instance, my music, which was a hobby, suddenly became my work, and I had to deal with all this pressure, and I had to find a way to enjoy it. And it's still really hard for me today as well, because when you have this pressure of that it's your job, it becomes quite difficult. and it becomes difficult to keep your creativity, because that's with music, of course. It's a creative job. So now whenever I'm at home, I feel like, okay, it's a Monday, I have to work. What am I going to do? I'm going to make music. But then it's different from, you're home from school, and, oh, finally I can do my hobby, I can make music. It's a very different feeling, and I encountered this form of perfectionism. For me, it means that if I have to start to make a new song, for me, because it's my work now, I only want to make songs if it's going to be a major hit, and I can make money from it, and you have all these expectations, and I don't really feel like it's worth making a new song if it's not going to be like, a major success. So these are things I started to struggle with, and also the fact that I was, a teenager and I didn't go to school, so I had to wake myself up every morning. I had to make my own planning. Of course, I can't make any kind of planning because I'm very bad at making planning. So, that was really difficult. And that's the main reason I decided, okay, maybe I should try going to school again. I was 17 and I was like, okay, music is my passion now, so I should go to conservatory, to music school. So that's what I did when I was 17. And at first I was really pleasantly surprised. I loved the vibe. Everybody was musicians, everybody was creative. And the school was actually able to give me more freedom and flexibility than I was used to, because, all the people in the school were creative people, and I don't know, it was just a vibe, so they were quite easygoing, and I got a lot of free time. But the flip side was that because it's a creative subject, I had a lot of trouble with learning it through education, learning it through a book, learning it through school. Because I was so used to learning things on my own, even with science back in the day, but especially with music, I just did it by myself, and I had a lot of trouble with accepting from the teachers, okay, use this chord, or use this key, because that's pretty. And then I'm like, no, but it's creative, who tells me what better music is? So that's something that was the biggest issue for me. And I learned so much outside of school, by traveling the world, working with people. I decided to quit again. That's another example, because when I was in music school, I was doing the producer course, so all about making beats and recording instruments. But I was also a songwriter, and the main thing I needed as a musician was singing lessons, because 2.5 years ago, I could not sing one note right. I was the worst singer. And everybody told me, okay, you just stick to DJing, because nobody wants to hear you sing. But I said, okay, if I want to be a songwriter, if I want to write my own lyrics, I got to find the notes, But the school was not allowed to give me singing lessons, because it was not in the curriculum, and I would have to wait 2 years. And it's not the school's fault, but it was like the rules from the government. So, just as an example, I started my own singing lessons outside of school with a teacher who really looks at me as an individual, what I need. And now I'm just singing in tracks, and people want to keep my voice on it because they like it. So I did it by myself, and it worked better for me. So that's why I quit music school as well, unfortunately. And then, so that's basically where I am right now. And then if we're gonna look to the future, for me personally, my new plan is to move to Seoul, South Korea, because I'm really interested in Korean culture, the Korean music scene. I've been learning Korean for a while now, so I'm gonna move there and make music there. Basically, just like my peers are doing, they're studying abroad, having a good time, partying, and doing a little bit of school. That's basically what I allowed myself to do as well, because I always had this idea of like, oh, I gotta work, I'm a musician, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have a good time, do something with my music, I don't know. So that's my plan for now. But I have a friend who shares this passion for Korean culture. She's studying Korean studies at Leiden, and actually the first thing that came in my mind is, oh my God, there's this studies about Korea. I should do that study. I should go to school again. Unfortunately, when now looking at her class, I realized that it's too, for me again, it's like too rigid, and I'm just not used to learning what the school decides you have to learn. I'm so used to learning, for instance, Korean now on my own, with the top-down method. So yeah, unfortunately, I decided, okay, no more school for me, like I said. Because even though I really want to, because I'm still struggling with the things I mentioned earlier, like, you know, getting myself out of bed, having a work ethic and discipline, and I wish I could learn those things in school, but for me, I'm just gonna do my own thing. Yeah, and basically, so what I've learned is that, for me, what has been really important in the education system is that the freedom I had in especially primary school, but also high school, and well, like I said, the open-mindedness, the flexibility, and the courage of those teachers has been really important for me. That's the main thing. And they looked at me as an individual, what I needed, and they didn't look at me through the rule book, you know? So that's the thing I got in primary school, especially in what I missed in university and in those courses. So that's basically my main message. And what I've realized in general, goes beyond me or beyond gifted children, but ours, you have to treat every kid individually, and our system is so based on the average, but I feel like we tend to forget that nobody is actually average. You know, today we're talking about gifted children who are obviously not average, but I feel like nobody is normal or average, and we should keep that in mind, you know? That is basically my main message for today, and I want to ask all of you if you have questions for me, because I hope I wasn't too chaotic, so if you have some questions, please let me know about anything, about me, about school. Yeah, over there.
Oké, ik kom naar je toe hoor, want anders ben je denk ik niet verstaanbaar.
Thank you for your inspirational talk. You told that you were allowed by school to accelerate.
Yes.
To skip classes and to accelerate in stof.
Yeah.
What would have happened with you if you weren't allowed or weren't able to do that? How do you think that would have affected your life?
Yeah, because I can tell by the time when I went to university to study physics and the time I went to do music school where I didn't get enough flexibility that I got so demotivated, and you know, I'm still not interested in physics anymore to this day. So in high school where you get all kinds of subjects, if I would have to do high school for 6 years in a regular tempo and I would have lost motivation and passion for all those subjects, I basically wouldn't have any passion left, you know? So, not to be dramatic or anything, but yeah, I think it's very demotivating, and I don't remember so much about it, but my mom always says that even in high school when I was accelerating so much, I would be so tired every day when I got home and just be like pale and be like just tired from being bored, you know? So I think it messes with your mental state, basically. Yeah, so it's really important to challenge these kids, and because another thing my mom says is that not doing enough can be more stressful and more tiring than doing too much. Yeah, I think that's true, so, yeah.
Ja, ik had ook een vraag, maar ik doe het even in het Nederlands.
Oh ja, dat is fijn, ja.
Je zegt dat je op hele jonge leeftijd al de hele wereld over bent gegaan.
Ja.
Zijn je ouders met je meegegaan? En hoe hebben ze, gewoon heel praktisch, hoe hebben zij dat met werk en dergelijke?
No, so in English, if my parents joined me on my trips all around the world when I was a DJ, but they didn't. No, they never did, I think. No, I did have a management organization. So in the beginning, especially when I was, 16, I always had a manager who joined me, and I think my parents, just like with the school thing, they've been very like open-minded and allowed me to have freedom. I think they did the same thing with those things, and I know I wasn't like a crazy kid who went drinking, and so yeah, they just trusted me basically. But I always did have like a manager or someone joining me. Yeah.
Oké. Als er geen vragen meer zijn... Oh, achterin is nog een vraag. Kijk eens aan. Ja, weet je, dan gaan we elkaar in het midden ontmoeten, hè?
How did you manage to keep in contact with peers and friends because you accelerated so often?
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because when I did my high school, of course, I was all over the place because I went to the 4th year pretty quickly, but I was doing classes. You know, some I did in the 2nd year, some I did in the 5th year, so I was everywhere. And I don't know if it was luck or what it was, but I just had a really great connection with both the older people in my class and the people, my peers. And maybe also a reason is if you're so much younger, because I was 11 and they were 16, then you're not going to bully an 11-year-old kid, you know? If he's 15 or 14 and he's a little bit weird, you know, but if he's 11, it's just, you know, not cool. So maybe that's also been a lucky thing, but now I'm not in touch with my peers from high school anymore, but yeah, I don't know, my friends right now, I've just met them all over the place. I have 2 really great friends who I met in music school, but I also have older friends. Like my singing teacher is 35, but she's one of my closest friends, so my friends are like a really random group, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
More questions? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to listen to you.
Oh, thank you.
With adolescents who haven't had the chances you seem to have had and who haven't had the determination that you seem to have. Which begs the question, to me at least, what has been most useful to you, and it doesn't need to be one particular thing, it can be a lot, in seeming to really know what you want?
I think it's not really related to education, but how should I? Okay, I'm a very big fan of Oprah Winfrey, and I watch a lot of her videos and all of her wisdom. And I think it's not really, well, it is related to education, because I feel like the most important skill and like value in life is that you know who you are, and therefore you can like trust yourself. You know, if you're happy with yourself, and then you can trust your instincts. And I think that has been by far the most important tool for me. And earlier I said it doesn't have to do with education, but the man who was speaking before me, I don't know if he's here, he actually said something about it. He was like, we should teach this. Oh, there you are. Yes, we should teach this kind of skill in school, right? You said like empathetic listening and just this skill of like self-esteem and self-trust is a skill we don't discuss in school, but maybe it's the most important skill. So, yeah. But that's a kind of my personal like mission, but that's another story. Yeah. Oh, you had a question, yeah.
With which artist you want to create a new song?
Oh, I have so many. I'm a really, I have a lot of dreams. I'm a really big fan of Rihanna. I think she's the coolest pop singer out there right now. But like I said, I'm a big fan of Korean music as well. I know, who has heard here of BTS? BTS, the Korean boy band? Woo, yes. So I'm a big fan of them as well. I would love to work with Korean artists, and so much. I love Mariah Carey. Yeah, it's a big list. It's a big list.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I think that you are going to surprise us with
Yes.
your musical talent.
Woo.
So if you like to dance, it is possible. It's
Yes, everybody has to dance.
Surprise
Everybody has
us.
to stand up and dance, of course.
Okay. You would like us to stand up?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Girl, put your love on me, 'cause I won't let you down. I won't let you down. And we'll be singing. Girl, put your love